out of your day to spend with me. This is Joy. Happy New Year. It is my sincere hope that you are able to create some beautiful memories with the people that you love and will be able to look back on them in years to come and smile and your heart be warmed. I also hope that you had the opportunity to self-reflect so that you could use what you learn to propel you forward intentionally into your prepared places. Today, I'm going to be talking about upgrading your identity after narcissistic abuse. And I'm talking about this in response to a question that was asked by Trisha. She simply asked, how do I become the person I was before the narcissist? I chose to start with this question because this resonated with me so much. I lived my life. I've lived the majority of my life, should I say, trying to become the person that I was before a particular event happened in my life. And so I literally spent so many years, actually decades, living my life backwards. Yeah, backwards. For those of you who are just meeting me and don't know my story, I was sexually assaulted when I was 4. And as a 4-year-old child, I really didn't know who I was. I hadn't really formulated my own thoughts or my own character or my own identity. I was still growing. But as I was growing up, as I was experiencing life, I always felt like something was stripped away from me. Something was taken from me. And I needed it so that I would know who I was in life and it would give me some direction. And so I spent so many years trying to figure out, how do I get back to that moment? And I know it may sound crazy, but that's just my truth. I really, really thought that if I could get back to the day before, I would be able to just reconnect with her, with me, and be able to just, get an understanding of who I was and who I could be, because I just felt so lost and confused. And so when I saw the question, how do I become who I was before the narcissist, it reminded me of that. And even as an adult, I remember, when I was separating from my now ex-husband, a narcissist, and thinking, oh, wow, how do I get back to how I was before I ever met him? And the truth of the matter is, you don't get to go back to who you were before. And I know it may be disappointing to hear that, but just hear me out for a moment. Because that person is gone. Who you were, you can never be that person because you have new experiences. Now, these are not experiences we may necessarily have wanted, but they're the ones that we have. And so part of our journey must involve us accepting those experiences as part of our life journey. That's one thing that's important that we do, because it allows us to start the process of healing as well as evolving. And that is also how we start to upgrade our identity, which is so important. In case you are ever confused or unsure, I want you to know that, listen, when the narcissist comes into your life, you've got to know that this is a deliberate attack. It's not a happenstance. It's not a mistake. This is an attack. I personally believe that, they are being used as agents of darkness. They are doing, the enemy's bidding. They are nothing more than puppets. And so that's why the trauma can feel so soul-crushing, because there is a reason it works the way that it does. One thing the enemy wants you to do is to lose what makes you unique, what makes you distinctive, what makes you stand out. The enemy wants you to just be a carbon copy of who he says you are. And so I remember being a little 4-year-old, and after everything happened, being told that I was useless, that I was no good, that I was damaged goods, that nobody would want me, that I would be no good to anyone for the rest of my life. And that became the soundtrack of my life. I made decisions as a woman with that soundtrack playing in my mind. I got married to a narcissist. I had toxic relationships. I had a history of them. And with every devaluation, with every smear campaign, with all the things that narcissists do, that soundtrack just kept getting louder and repeating itself. And it just seemed like, okay, this is your story. Okay, this is what you should accept. That's a lie. One thing about narcissistic abuse is it is soul-crushing trauma. And because we're in relationships with these people, it's not an instantaneous event. It's an ongoing relationship, right? So the cycle of deception, ignored red flags, gaslighting, smear campaigns, sleep deprivation, crazy making, triangulation, the flying monkeys, all of that craziness that is narcissistic abuse is an ongoing cycle. And so that starts off as an assault on your mind. But over time, it actually becomes the soundtrack to what you begin to hear subconsciously, because that's what the narcissist wants you to think and believe is who you are. So oftentimes you can feel depleted afterwards. You can feel lost, confused. You don't know who you are. You're a shadow of who you were before. You're no longer connected to the things that you loved. You used to pray. You used to love God. You used to have a relationship with Him. Now you can't even bring yourself to your knees, even when your heart is crying out, and that's all you want is for Him to hear you, and you want to serve Him and you want to be in His presence, but you can't. Okay, so maybe it wasn't your faith that was tested. Maybe it's going back to school. Maybe it was your parenting style. Maybe it was becoming a parent. Maybe it was just getting married. Maybe you wanted to be a playwright. We all have dreams, goals, and aspirations. We also have mantles that we carry and purpose, anointings. And a lot of the times we do know what they are. And we get excited about these things that we want to do and we know we must do in life. And then here comes this raggedy dusty behind into our lives and turns everything upside down, and we lose passion for the things that we used to love. And sometimes it hurts so much that you don't even want to get out of bed. And you look at yourself in the mirror and you can't recognize yourself. And I'm not even talking about what you see physically in the mirror, but it's what you see beyond that. When you look deep into your own eyes and you see the pain, you see the hurt, you see the disappointment, you see the shame, you see the anger at yourself, you feel the unforgiveness towards you, the bitterness, the resentment, all of those feelings. You see them and you wonder, how do I get back to how I was before? You have to upgrade your identity. Until you upgrade your identity, you'll be looking at a bootleg version of yourself that was served to you by a raggedy dusty behind who has no clue on who they are. You owe it to yourself to allow yourself to evolve. Everything that you thought you knew based on what the narcissist told you is a lie. And even when you feel like you're not being authentic to yourself as you move forward, understand that imposter syndrome will creep up every now and then. That's okay. It's a journey. And overcoming narcissistic abuse is a marathon. It's not a sprint. It's going to take time. Extend some grace to yourself. But it is so vital that you upgrade your identity, because this is going to be what you establish as the soundtrack that will continue to play in your subconscious as you live out the rest of your life. And it's you. It is you who gets to define that. You and nobody else. And so allow yourself to be bold and creative and tap into what is true to yourself. Ask yourself things like, who am I? And if you don't know the answer to that, take time to figure it out. Go to the one who speaks to you. I had to go to God, and I had to go to his word and see what that said about me. Who am I? What is my purpose? Why am I here? Allow those things to dictate to you what your identity should look like. That's your blueprint. That's your unique fingerprint. That's your upgrade. Reestablishing that soundtrack that will forever play in your mind. Make it beautiful and make it something that you are proud to let other people hear and dance to.